Hello there! In today's video, I will be painting a quick watercolor portrait study while chatting about my experience teaching art both online and in live classes. This topic was requested by many of you, and if there's ever something that you'd want me to talk about in the future videos, you can let me know in the comments below. If you would like to paint along a bit more slowly and follow the full real-time process of this painting, you can find it on my Patreon, link is in the description. Before we dive into whether teaching art is still worth it these days, I just want to take a moment and say thank you. We just reached 40k subscribers on this channel and I'm incredibly grateful and honestly humbled by this amazing community following my art journey. Funny enough, teaching watercolor was actually one of the biggest steps that helped me get here, and today I want to share the truth about my love-hate relationship with teaching to hopefully help those who are thinking of creating educational content, teaching classes, or simply just sharing your craft with bigger audience. Teaching is still one of the most common ways for artists to make a living. There are only a handful of people who can survive purely by selling their artwork. I'm definitely not one of them, and I personally know only one such person. For almost everyone else, income usually comes from a mix of selling originals, doing commissions, teaching, and sometimes even working a part-time or full-time job outside of art. From a purely financial point of view, teaching is definitely worth considering. It can bring more stable income even if you are just at the beginning of your art career. Besides being a fairly reliable source of income, teaching can also be deeply fulfilling, and that is something that I did not expect at first. What I love most is the sense of community that it creates. Watching someone grow because of something that you shared can be incredibly rewarding. When someone tells me they finally painted a piece they love, it reminds me that sharing what I know can go far beyond the art itself, and it can make a difference. Of course, painting can bring joy too, but teaching, it can double that joy for me. That said, I don't think that teaching is for everyone. Like with everything, it has a price. And you paid in time, in energy, in creative bandwidth. For me, it means time not spent painting for galleries or competitions. It means dealing with occasional social anxiety after too much interaction. It even shows up in how slow I can be at replying to comments sometimes, not because I don't care, but because I just need that space to recharge. Every now and then, you will also meet students who are hard to connect with. And teaching someone who's frustrated, not in the right mindset, that can be very emotionally draining, especially when you deeply care. That is why I think if you are a highly private, introverted artist who does not enjoy explaining your process or interacting too much, teaching might not be your best path. Even if you start for the income, the long-term discomfort may outweigh the financial reward. And that is okay. The key is choosing a path that works with who you are and not against it. There are so many ways to teach art today, from short visual tutorials on social media to in-depth video lessons, all the way to multi-day masterclasses in person. Thanks to social media, it has never been easier to start sharing what you know. You can begin with zero experience, grow at your own pace, and eventually turn it into something serious, like opening a studio, which is exactly what I did. For me, it started as casually as sharing step-by-step visual tutorials and writing long educational posts. Later, I moved to video, and after a few years of teaching online, I finally found the courage to open a physical art studio, which has been my dream, and it's now been running for 8 years. But here's the thing, teaching online and teaching live are completely different worlds. One did not prepare me for the other, and I learned that the hard way. So if you're thinking about teaching someday, stay with me, because next I will share a couple of things that I wish I had known earlier. Let's start with online teaching, because this is the most accessible way to begin, even for those of you who maybe can't imagine standing in front of a class. There are so many advantages to teaching online for both teachers and students. In fact, on social media, you will often get more attention by showing how you create something than by simply posting the finished piece. Sharing your process builds trust, gives people context, and helps your audience connect more deeply with your art. And even if you don't want to teach long term, this is still one of the best ways to grow your reach and build genuine interest in your work. Now, when it comes to platforms, YouTube is ideal for longer, more in-depth videos. It's where people actually sit down and spend more time with you, unlike most other social media platforms where attention spans are so short it's hard to teach anything meaningful. YouTube was a turning point for myself as well. It helped me develop the confidence to create longer tutorials and real-time painting sessions, which eventually led me to teaching full-length classes. So once you're comfortable creating this kind of educational content, there are lots of platforms that can help you monetize your teaching. Some offer subscriptions like Patreon or Skillshare, where students pay to access your lessons over time. Others let you sell individual classes like Domestika, Gumroad, or Teachable. And while this can feel overwhelming at first, the beauty is that you can start small and build as you go. I only personally taught on Patreon and Skillshare. If you'd like a full comparison video, let me know in the comments. But in general, both are easy to get started with. They have zero upfront costs, and any fees are simply deducted from your earnings. On Patreon, you can set your own pricing tiers and rules, and while it began as a subscription-based platform, you can now sell individual lessons too, though each post supports just one video at a time. For students, both platforms offer affordable, in-depth learning. You can subscribe and unsubscribe at any time and access hours of valuable content for just a few dollars per month. I was a Patreon student myself before I even started teaching online. Because of that experience, I chose to launch my own Patreon there back in 2017. But here's something that I wish I had known. Patreon, it takes time to grow. I worked on mine for months before it even hit $100 per month. It was very discouraging at first. I went through bursts of creating and promoting, followed by periods of burnout or silence when I had to take on other jobs just to support my family, and there was no time left for the actual video lessons. So Skillshare came later. I joined in 2021, and because the platform already has its own audience, my earnings started to grow significantly faster, I would say. But creating a full structured class for Skillshare with multiple lessons, clear learning goals and downloads, until this day it's a very long training process compared to the more casual, episodic style that I use on Patreon. Key takeaway from my experience with online teaching: take time to compare different platforms before committing. Once you invest in one, it's difficult to walk away, so choose wisely. If you're going to start out, go with a platform that already has its own student base. It is much easier to gain traction and build income. Do not launch a Patreon unless you already have a loyal audience ready to support you. Avoid putting all of your teaching content on just one platform. If policies or earnings suddenly change, it can be a serious setback. Do not go overboard either. Using more than two platforms can divide your focus and confuse your students. Now let's talk about teaching live classes or workshops. It's a topic that many artists are curious about, and while I could easily make a full video on this, here are some key insights from my own experience. Live teaching connects you with a local audience who may never discover your work online. The way you can demonstrate techniques in person, answering questions, correcting sketches on the spot, and showing subtle brush movements just is not quite possible through a video. These classes are incredibly rich and rewarding for students and for you also. They naturally support art sales. I hang my paintings around the studio and every class becomes a mini exhibition. And personally, nothing can accelerate your growth just like teaching live. For example, my drawings improved from correcting dozens of students' sketches. My speed and clarity developed from painting demos under pressure, and my ability to talk and paint at the same time, well, let's just say it was a crash course in multitasking. And the cons, it takes real energy. I teach up to 20 hours over a weekend, and on Mondays I'm completely exhausted. It's physically and emotionally demanding. How to get started? Before opening my studio, I held workshops at a friend's winery. You do not need a big investment. Rent a small space or ask a local business if they would host you. You can promote the class 1 or 2 months in advance. For beginner classes, I provide materials so attendees don't get overwhelmed. Even basic supplies will do. I set up a refreshment table to keep energy levels high, and after class I send a PDF with links, resources, and a note about our studio's patron. That follow-up builds trust and many students will return again and again. My studio is now the heart of my teaching. It changed my life. Some of my students became my closest friends, and even when times are tough, I remember why I started: to build a space where art brings people together. So if you're someone who loves art, enjoys connecting with others, and could use more real-life art friends, try running a class, even once. You might fall in love with teaching. And there it is, I managed to finish this quick watercolor portrait study while chatting with you. I would really love to hear your thoughts, whether on the painting or today's topic. There's so much power in creative community, whether it's online or in person, so I'll be reading your comments. Thank you for spending time with me, and I will see you around soon. Bye!